Hi, welcome to the Pulse. I hope you're doing well. In today's episodes, I actually changed my schedule because I really wanted to talk about this topic, which is a topic of resilience. This topic is currently highly prominent in our daily life, and this is why, to me, it was important to talk about it. We talk about it in sports, it's talked about it in general in media, in the newspaper. It's also talked around work. I hear a lot of time people mentioning the importance of resilience, and everything is valid everywhere it is valid. However, I am concerned that we potentially are overusing this word, and we are not also considering what this word really means and what it's about, and the different types of resilience. So I really would like to make a bit of a spotlight about this actual word and what it means, and understand how you can cope with it, how you can better understand the type of resilience that where you're strong, the one where you're weaker, understand how to actually deal with it, and potentially also put some other word behind. I am not here to judge anybody from using these words, but I would like to avoid that we are overusing it, and therefore when a person is actually having a level of resilience or dealing with resilience, that it's downgraded. Let's put it that way. So here it is. Let's deep dive on the topic of resilience. Let's start with a bit of theory around resilience. And I found online, looking through different documents, that there is overall around 7 types of resilience. The first one is psychological resilience. The second is emotional. Then there is physical resilience, community, economics, environmental resilience, and infrastructure. For the psychological resilience is the ability to mentally or emotionally cope with a crisis, to return to what we call pre-crisis status quo. The emotional resilience is the ability to adapt to stressful situation or crisis more easily and to recover more quickly from an emotional setback. The physical resilience, which is the one I think a lot of us have heard through sports, in the media, is the capability of the body to withstand and recover from a physical stress, illness, injuries. And I'll talk about some examples around those later on. Community resilience, if you don't know, is the ability of a group or community to withstand and recover from a disaster, whether it's natural or man-made, and to maintain a social structure and a way of life. For the economics resilience, is the ability of an economic or business to withstand and recover from an economic shock, such as like financial crisis, market fluctuation. When it comes to environmental resilience, it's the ability for an ecosystem to withstand and recover from environmental disturbance, such as climate change. So here again, we're not talking about humans only, but also our overall environment, planet. Some of the beings are recovering and adapting to, for example, climate change, and that would be a part of resilience. And last topic, 7, is the infrastructure resilience, the ability of an infrastructure system, such as transportation, energy, water system, to withstand and recover from disruption. Those are, in general, the 7 pillar, or however you want to call it, of resilience. I hope this worked. Or however you want to call it, of resilience. And now we can talk further about examples, situation, and I would like to explain to you how this is viewed, how we should also manage them, etc. The first case scenarios I would like to mention would be life-threatening disease. And in that case, the person will have to deal with multiple resilience. And the first one is emotional resilience. You're coping with the stress of finding out about the diagnosis and what are the results or potential impact, potential death, potential also the therapy behind that you will get. So if I take cancer, for example, with chemotherapy can be very intense on your body. There is an emotional stress happening, and therefore this for the person to be able to feel better or deal with the diagnosis, then usually that person has emotional resilience or need emotional resilience. And also the importance around that is linked not only to coping with stress, but also maintaining the hope of staying alive, of course. You then have the physical resilience that comes in, because usually this life-threatening is impacting your physical body, and therefore dealing with the treatment, adapting to the change, potential diet, or any other needs. Your body is weakened. What can you do? What you cannot do anymore. So it's really this physical component, physical resilience that is needed. And of course, the third is a social resilience. You need to rely on a support network, and therefore it's important to build that environment and also to communicate around this. So there is a way that in today's society we are more open to communicating, when in the past it was kind of like people wanted to hide. Of course, some people still don't want to talk about their illness, but overall there is more openness that this is not a weakness, and actually someone that is able to deal with a life-threatening disease is a very strong person with a high resilience. And those three resilience now, so emotional, physical, and social, are the highest one needed in that moment of crisis. The second example I want to take is more something that I think a lot of us can relate, dealing with traffic. The first type of resilience here is psychological resilience, and you have first to manage your frustration. Traffic can be a daily source of frustration if this is reoccurring, and it can create a psychological difficulty. And therefore, you have to build that psychological resilience to help manage the stress and maintaining composure going through the traffic. The second part of the psychological resilience is adaptability, being adaptable and finding alternative routes and solutions to avoid or cope with the traffic is important. And here we can talk about two different things. One thing is finding another route. Can I get out of traffic by taking a side road or by parking my car and walking home? These are cases, but there is other type, which is finding solution to stay calm in the car, putting a podcast, putting music, calling a friend. Always no phone on the hand. You can have it as a speaker, of course, always being careful on the road. But just to give you ideas, how can you cope, or taking deep breaths, whatever it takes to help you. This would be the psychological resilience. The second type is time management resilience. If you can plan ahead, because you know traffic is happening on a regular basis, and therefore you have an appointment you have to get to, then to reduce the stress by planning ahead, you can plan for potential traffic time or traffic jam time. And patience. Those are the two components of time management resilience, which for me would most likely be linked to also psychological or maybe emotional resilience, or also potentially could be linked to community, as maybe someone is waiting for you. So you have to learn to cope with it and to learn to plan ahead properly in order to avoid traffic or to avoid the stress around traffic, and that you feel calmer in order to be able to deal with it. So mitigate the impact of traffic on daily schedules, plan ahead, time management, practicing patience, and maintaining calm demeanor would be the key area around traffic. But of course, for some people, having the regular traffic issues can be different than having a one-time traffic when it's unplanned, and both are valid and both are going to require different type of resilience, and you will have to learn to cope with it. And this is also resilience, even though it sounds very small, very silly, but for some people, the toll of having those type of moments can be struggle, and it has to be heard, and we have also to understand it, because someone may have some fears, some issues behind the topic, and therefore this is a need for resilience as well. The last example in today's episode will be about resilience in dealing around sports. I decided to take an example of a tennis match, as Roland Garros just ended, and I am a big tennis fan. So for me, I heavily watched, and I have to say that this year was one of the most amazing, between the very well-known names who retired, between the story around Louis Boisson, around also the finals, both men and women, that were amazing. And so many changes in emotions. And in there, a lot of time, the word resilience came. I mean, overall, you hear there is now on one of the channel a documentary about Louis Boisson called Resilience. On the other side, I've heard commentators talking about Carlos Alcaraz, that is very resilient as well, because he saved 3 match points, And I do not want to diminish neither of them or any other athletes out there. They are all very resilient overall people. But let's put it into perspective and explain what type of resilience they're facing. The first one is mental resilience. They have to focus and be highly concentrated, maintaining that focus during a full match, during a full game. It can be long sometimes, and it's under a lot of pressure, and they have to keep that mindset all the way through. And the second part is handling the pressure around the mental resilience. The pressure can be high. They are paid based on their sports, based on their results. So it's not like us. Whenever we do a tournament, a match, a race, it's technically for fun. We have no money behind. They do. So there is this extra pressure. They have to perform. There will be critiques. There will be different people watching. And really, this can have it all. And their mental resilience is definitely very high. The other one is, of course, the physical one. Endurance, fitness, recovery, all this, they have to take care of their body. Any professional athlete have to make sure that they are well taken care of, that they make sure that their physical health and shape is at their best, and that means recover quickly, making sure that they can withhold a long tennis match or sports, a long event. And that is very important part of their resilience. And the last one is emotional, dealing with setback, such as Louise Boisson with her injury, for example, sportsmanship, so maintaining also good sportsmanship and good attitude in regardless of the outcome. When we've seen, Jannik Sinner losing after almost winning, he was 3 match points away. The situation around Zabalenka, who talked after the game about Coco Gauff in a negative way. I know now I'm going, very deep into tennis names, but in general, you always have to keep your composure. You always have to talk nicely, even though when you've lost, you may be hurt, you may be in pain. It's important to keep that sportsmanship, that composure in a time where you could be emotional if you've lost, if you've had a difficulty and a setback, and that's not easy. And this is definitely for those 3 elements, they are highly resilient people. But again, it's a different type of resilience. And I want to make sure we put it into perspective to say, yes, they are highly resilient on a certain day, on a certain time, with a certain match. But some other cases, they may not be as resilient. Some other situations, they may need even more resilient than what they portrayed in those events, those matches, those moments in time. I hope those 3 examples are helping you now better understand the different type of resilience people are facing and understanding what people have to cope with and why I really wanted to make sure that we understand the different types of resilience that people face on a day-to-day. All those resilience are highly valid, but whenever, now in the future, what I would hope with these episodes is whenever you're seeing someone or you're hearing someone talk about resilience, that you're able to analyze which type of resilience it is and understand if this is something also for yourself where you are resilient in or not, how does it make you feel, etc. analyze it and spend some time. Every resilience is highly valid at every level, and we all have resilience within ourselves. But depending on the topic, we need to understand how much we're coping with them and how good we are in some areas. But this is critical to challenge ourselves to say, is this resilience for me to the level that I expect resilience to be? Again, for me, not comparing to other people. Compare for yourself. In that moment in time, am I resilient? Yes or no? And if I am, is it a 2? Is it a 10? Where am I when it comes to my resilience level? Do I want to grow and be even more resilient? In what area do I want to do that? So, to conclude, basically, it's okay to talk about resilience. It's okay to share when someone is highly resilient. It's okay to promote it, and there is no negativity around it. However, it's important to understand that when we mention someone is resilient for a certain topic, it could be that day this is the highest level of resilience, but tomorrow the level could be higher. And what I mean by that is, today, let's say I'm feeling a pain, and I consider this pain to be the most awful pain. So it's my 10. And tomorrow, actually, I'm even feeling a pain that is even bigger than the one of today. Then that pain now is a 10. But then that means the pain that I was feeling before cannot be a 10 as well, because the new one is greater. That means now it's a 9. So within ourselves, whenever we talk about resilience, we have to be aware that potentially while we're being highly resilient, potentially it can be greater. But also understanding, when I said I'm resilient, that doesn't mean I'm resilient everywhere. That doesn't mean I will handle the situation the same way. And that doesn't mean that my resilience is at the highest peak and one day that this is going to remain at that point. As I said, I really felt like I was highly resilient in some moment. This could be my 10, but potentially my 10 will come in 2 years, in 5 years, in 20 years. It's going to be even a greater resilience. Who knows? And as well, some events where I was resilient, highly resilient, some other events, I felt like I couldn't deal with the resilience. I have to say that for me, a topic that is very difficult is traffic. I never handle well traffic. If I am stuck for an hour on the same spot in my car, not moving, and that has happened to me before, it's very stressful. I'm not happy. I'm struggling because there is no way out. I don't have a solution, and that doesn't feel good for me. But on the other side, I said earlier, I beat cancer. So I am highly resilient for other things. So it's, again, understanding someone can be resilient somewhere, and we have to promote that resilience, but we cannot just make it a big word. We have to give context. If not, the word will not mean anything anymore. So that would be the end of the episode. I hope you liked it. I really spoke from the heart on this one. This was, as I said at the beginning, very unplanned. I had a list, and I can tell you that before I started to create even the first episode, I started to make a list, and I had a list of 15 topics I wanted to talk about, which I will. But all of a sudden, as I was going through the news and watching what was happening, this topic felt so important to me to talk about it. So I will do this from time to time. I will bring some topics that are dear to my heart. I don't want to not talk about those topics or not say my mind as well. I want to potentially spark conversation. Maybe you have a completely different opinion than me, and I'm happy to discuss, happy to comment, happy to exchange with you, and potentially you might change my mind. But I want to have the freedom also in that podcast to be able to say my piece, to say to express how I see it, whether it's good or not. I hope I did not offend anybody, and that you appreciated my candidness in this episode. And please, let's exchange. I wish you all a great day. Please subscribe to the podcast, follow, like it, comments, and share it as well with your friends if you really like it, or colleagues. I would much appreciate all your support. I hope you're liking how I'm improving, or not, maybe. Let's see. But in general, I hope you're liking the format. I hope you're enjoying. And I talk to you soon. Bye.